Never been before. It's the first time. It's just, I'm so glad that he's opening our minds to the reality around us.
The world's got a lot of problems at the moment. I think even the people who are taking news from the main media are aware of a lot of problems out there. And the real way that we can solve them is by opening up awareness. And things like this event are going to do that.
A friend of mine died of having swine flu vaccine recently. So I want to help as many people realise that you know, this world that we're living is not what we thought it is, and it's quite important that we get the word out.
I do believe there is an evil cabal who are interested in power, money and control, and I have a lot of respect for David for not being scared and speaking out against it.
I admire him. I think he's very brave. I just want to see him doing his thing.
I want David to tell us all, man. You know, I wanted to talk about the moon being a spaceship. I wanted to talk about the future, which he's so positive about. You know, with the what's coming and how humanity is gonna remember who it is. You know, and see that fork in the road where we actually stop believing all the mainstream education and media and start to wake up to the true magnitude of who we are and how we create reality. You know.
He's done a lot of quality research, and he's also applied a kind of philosophy to it as well. You can take it or leave it, but he's putting it out there for everyone, and he puts himself at risk doing it, and we all owe him big time for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, David Icke.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Whoa. Thank you. Thank you. Good turnout then. Crikey. I remember talking to people in telephone boxes once and having room to walk around all those years ago. But amazing things have happened since. My thanks first of all to the extraordinary Linda for putting this event on, and Sean and all the team. And my God, it's 20 years since my head blew off. 20 years on, I hope I've contributed one thing, and that is to let people realize that if you believe in something, if you keep putting one foot in front of the other and don't get caught in defending yourself or feeling sorry for yourself or falling for the fear that what other people think of you because you're saying something that's different, then if you keep putting that one foot in front of the other, you get somewhere. It's when you stop that everything stops. And if we believe in what we are saying, and what we're saying has validity, then eventually it will be shown to be so. But that process only plays out if we keep walking. And you realize over 20 years that whatever people are saying about you today, they'll say something else tomorrow, so don't get caught up in what they're saying today, whatever today is. Because the fear of what other people think is the state of perception that stops people making a difference. Because you can only make a difference in a world of uniformity if you operate outside that uniformity, and that's always going to get you laughter, it's always going to get you ridicule and condemnation. And we either want to make a difference and we take that on and say whatever, or we don't, in which case nothing changes. And when I look back at this last 20 years, I can see very clearly in my life what happens to all of us. You come into the world, and then you go through a series of experiences, and they seem to be random. They don't seem to be connected. Well, this is happening now, and that's happening then, and this is happening today. But when you look back, you see how it's been a journey of connected, often fantastically synchronistic experiences that are leading us in a certain direction. If we choose to go. If we don't choose to go, then we just run on the spot, which is where most of humanity is because of the way the system is structured. So when I look at the different aspects of my life, I see the chain of events that's led to now. I mean, this was me when I came into the world. I was bloody happy to be here, I was. Mum, Earth's a shitty place and want to go home. And I felt like that as a kid, to be honest. But then my life unfolded, and I became a professional footballer. Have you seen them teeth? When I saw that bloody picture, I've seen them teeth. Last time I saw a set of teeth like that, it was winning the Grand National. But the football side of it, which just seemed to be, I want to be a footballer. Actually, because I ended up playing professional football with rheumatoid arthritis, not recommended, by the way, I had an iron will to keep going whatever. And my goodness me, that came in quite handy a few years later. Then I went into television. What a bloody poser, look at him. I don't know, you should curl my hair then, you know. And thank you. It's been a long time since anyone did that to me. In fact, that's the first time, I think. And what that did was show me the inside of the media, shite, and also gave me a public profile which was going to lead to something later that wouldn't be ignored, although at the time I wish it was being ignored. And then I went into politics, you can call Green Party politics, and I saw politics from the inside, how it's just a game, how it's irrelevant to human life, and how people who were fighting with each other in the public arena were doing anything but that behind the scenes. And then, bang, 1990. For a year before 1990, when I was still in the Green Party, I felt this presence around me. Even when I was in a room alone, or especially then, I felt this presence around me, like I wasn't alone. And this went on for the best part, like I say, of a year. And it got more and more powerful, more and more tangible. Long story short, I tell the story in the books. I went by a series of synchronistic chances to see a psychic. Never seen one in my life before. And I just wanted to go along. I told her I wanted hands-on healing for my arthritis, which was true. But the real reason was, would she pick up what was around me? And I went for a couple of times, and it was hands-on healing, very nice. Betty Shine, nice lady. And then the third time, she starts giving me this stuff. Ooh, this is powerful, she says. I've got to close my eyes for this one. And in 1990, out came all this stuff. I'm presenting the snooker at the time. You know, I'm with the BBC still, and out came all this stuff. I was going to go out on a world stage. I was going to reveal great secrets. And basically, there was a shadow across the world that had to be lifted. There was a story that had to be told. And I was going to tell it, which, when I'm sitting with my bum on that little bench next to her in her healing room, sounded complete bloody craziness. But it's unfolded. And it's unfolded very quickly after that, where my life started to change. And I started to come across information that was pushing me in a certain direction. And then in the same year, or just after the same year, 1991, I went to Peru on a whim, on intuition, and ended up having extraordinary experiences on a mound in Peru, just down from where that is. This is Siyustani, not far from a place called Puno in southern Peru. Over just out the shot there, on this mound, when this energy was coming in the top of my head, and I was shaking like I was plugged in the mains for about the best part of an hour. And after that, everything changed. It was like a dam bursting in my head, and suddenly concepts, information, perceptions were pouring into my mind. And for about 3 months, if you'd have asked what planet I was on, I would definitely have had to check. And that 3 months was when all this unfolded, what I call my turquoise period. When it was like a computer where you push too many keys and it freezes and says, can't process this, thank you, I'm shutting down. And that's what happened to me basically in that 3 months. And then, after that time, everything morphed back. And people were coming up to me in the street after all the ridicule, they're saying, you're just like the bloke I used to know. I thought they said you got mad. Well, I may have looked like the bloke I used to know, but I wasn't. I was suddenly seeing the world in a completely different way, and I was asking the big questions. Who are we? Where are we? Why is the world as it is? And from that time, the puzzle pieces started to be handed to me in really synchronistic, amazingly synchronistic ways. One of the, if you like, psychic communications that came through Betty Shine said in 1990, sometimes he will say things and wonder where they came from. They will be our words. Another one said knowledge will be put into his mind, and at other times he will be led to knowledge. Well, all I can say after 20 years of experience since that time is that famous advert in Britain, it does exactly what it says on the tin, is precisely what has unfolded since then. And that's how the information for all the books and everything has come. Another one was, arduous seeking is not necessary. The path is already mapped out. You only have to follow the clues. Again, it says, or it does what it says on the tin. Exactly that has happened. And it's this process of having insights and then 5 sense information, names, dates, places, documents, people coming to support that insight. That is what has been unfolding for 20 years. That's where the information has come from in the books. And it's been like some force has been handing me puzzle pieces in virtually the order easiest to understand them. And when you put the puzzle pieces together, the world looks very, very different when you connect the dots. Because what the system wants to do right across society is get people to focus on dots, individual dots, a religion, family, job, football team, whatever. There's nothing wrong with focus as long as you hold peripheral vision and you can see how your focus connects out into other things. That's not what the system wants. It wants that focus so you don't have peripheral vision. And as you're trying to go through the maze we call life, the control system has set up endless ways to divert us, confuse us, and to keep us from the understanding that would set us free. And that's what I want to talk about in the first section today. The idea is to keep humanity constantly bewildered, so we don't know where we are, who we are, what even reality is. But when you connect the dots, and so many of them, as we'll see today, have on the face of it no connection to some of the others, when you connect the dots, the light goes on, and suddenly the picture forms. And what I'm going to do today, I can't fill in endless detail to support what I'm saying. That's in the books. And that's what books are for. Because even in the long, long day that we've got today, and all the hours I'm going to be speaking, I need that time just to connect individual dots and show how they connect together. Because that will make the world we live in phenomenally different to the one that sold us from cradle to grave. The elephant in the living room appears when you connect the dots. When you connect enough, the elephant it's so blatant. But when the dots are unconnected, there's no elephant there, because you can't see it. And that elephant in the living room is that there is a multi-level conspiracy, and it is multi-level, to enslave humanity in like a global concentration camp. The trick is to make sure the slaves don't realize they're slaves, so they don't do anything about their slavery. Although as this moves and moves towards its goal, that is becoming more obvious. When I first started on this journey 20 years ago, the first few years, all the information coming to me in, like I say, incredible synchronicity of meeting people, seeing documents, coming across information, having experiences. That first few years were about what I call the 5 sense level of this conspiracy. The banking scams, the police state, the Orwellian surveillance, the big pharmaceutical cartel attack on the human body and the human immune system, engineered wars. And then after a few years, I started to move through the synchronicity, just following the clues as it said at the start. I came across this reptilian connection to the families that are running our reality. And then the most important part, from about 2003, 2002, when the synchronicity started taking me in to the nature of reality itself. And until we understand at least the themes of what this illusion is, we can understand nothing else about the world as it is and the way that the control system works. And then, over the last year, that synchronicity and the puzzle pieces has taken me into, perhaps for many people, I understand it, the most extraordinary area, which is that the moon is not what we think it is. Now, can you imagine if you've come along today out of curiosity? We're a few minutes in, and your eyes are on... Bill, he just said reptile, he couldn't have done. He did, I heard him. Well, we're going to get into some strange stuff, especially in the second section. Well, the first section's strange. We really are lunatics for reasons that I'll come to. So we're now at this fork in the road where we can go down one track and we can experience freedom in a way that we've never even understood what freedom is. We go down the other one, the one that the control system wants, then we're heading for a Orwellian fascist global state. It's unfolding as I speak. That choice, that fork in the road, is to become conscious, because most of humanity isn't, because it's manipulated not to be, or the control system's route, which is just to become a clone, a computer terminal of a control system, a merciless control system. The choice is between this, not too far down the road if we allow it, and this. Go hard, isn't it? Which one? Ugh. Freedom on a level, like I say, that we can't even begin to imagine from the perception of awareness that we've had so far. We perceive just a fraction of what freedom is, even when we talk about freedom. And we can break out of this. We can break out of this maze, this vibrational prison that we've been encased in. But to do that, as I said at the start, we have to stop doing what has put us in there. And that is conforming to the world that we are told the world is. Stop being in the herd. Stop being in the box, because there is another way. And if we don't take another way, I'm not saying the other way, we live in all possibility, but if we don't take another way from the way we've taken this far, how can anything change? It can't. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Real simple. And we don't have to all be the same. You can look the other way. You don't have to be a faceless person in a faceless crowd. It's not compulsory. You can express your uniqueness. You don't have to do what everybody else does just because they do it and we're frightened of conforming. And sometimes the choice of not conforming can actually save us a lot of grief. And it will in the next few years. You don't have to swim with the tide. You can swim the other way. It's possible. You were born an original. Don't die a copy. But how many people do? Because they fear not being like everyone else is because of the comeback from those people. Truth does not change because it is or is not believed by the majority of the people. Everybody knows that, mate. Everyone knows that's rubbish. Well, I don't know it's rubbish. That's one less than everyone. We've made a start. As Gandhi said, even if you're in a minority of one, the truth is still the truth. The multitude is always wrong. My goodness, how history has confirmed that. And this is the stadium on which it all plays out. The human mind. You cannot control billions of people physically. You can in certain small areas, yes, with your tanks and your bloody tasers and all that rubbish. But you can't do it to 7 billion. You have to control the way they perceive themselves and the world, and therefore through that make them behave the way you want them to. So if we're going to go down this route of freedom, first of all, we need to free our minds from the programming of a lifetime. Free our minds from the belief that what we're programmed to believe in schools is the truth about anything. It's not there to enlighten us. It's there to program us with a certain perception of reality which we carry through our lives so we will be good little slaves based on who we think we are and what we think the world is. Free our minds from the diversions and the nonsense and, hey honey, she's after the car, quick. And while we're doing that, over here, the world is being orchestrated. Not for our benefit either. Free our minds from the belief that the mainstream media is interested in telling the people the truth of what's going on in the world. It's there to do the opposite. It's to tell us the version of reality the control system wants us to believe, so we will respond and react in the right way. Free our minds from the fake change people. Crikey, is there a politician that's actually campaigning anymore that's not saying they stand for change? Change? Yes, I'll tell you what the change is. It's one guy claiming to be change controlled by the same force that controlled the previous guy. Free our minds from the fake, fraudulent, false flag terrorist events created by the same control system that then tells you how the world must change to save us from the terrorism that they had covertly created. Free our minds from the front men for this control system who are put up to frighten us into accepting changes in society, surveillance and control to save us from people who are front men for the very system that says, let me save you from him. Free our minds from the bullshit nonsense about human-caused global warming, which is nothing more than a way of introducing and justifying more and more controls and massive, massive increases in taxation, making fortunes for people like him. Free our minds from the idea that Big Pharma, the pharmaceutical industry, is in any way interested in human health. It's not about human health, it's about Big Pharma wealth and more. Free our minds from the four-letter word that controls the world, fear, that traps us in these vibrational boxes called fear. And free our minds, more than anything else, from the idea that we are Charlie Jones or Ethel Smith. We're just Joe Public. We've got no power. The choice is to become conscious, to realize that Ethel Smith is an experience, not who we are, and choose not to be what the control system is fast trying to create. Since I started writing about this, in some detail 15, 16, 17 years ago about the control system. It's gone from its coming to daily experience. I think this is a symbolic picture myself. That plaque says, George Orwell lived here. We've got peaceful demonstrations in America being scattered by excruciatingly painful sound technology. The microchip agenda's moving on. The sky's full of chemtrails and all the stuff that's in them. The food we are given to eat, if we choose to eat it, is full of chemical cocktails that are destabilizing our ability to think straight and be emotionally stable. And they're targeting the children more than anyone because they're the ones that are supposed to live most of their lives in this control system. They bloody won't, as I'll get to later, but they're trying. And yet so many people are still saying, well, it looks all right to me. Looks all right to me. To have your head in the sand, you have to be on your knees. The two go together. Ain't it great? Ain't it great to be free? So the idea is to enslave us while people think they're free. And this is a real important area that keeps us from focusing on this and acting on this. Wishful thinking. Wishful thinking that says, well, I don't want it to be true, so I'm going to kid myself it's not. And if I can do that, then I don't have to do anything. Here's an example of wishful thinking I came across. Wishful thinking that this threat will make any difference to their husband's drinking. That's wishful thinking. When I first saw that, I immediately ordered a large one, personally. But that's wishful thinking. I wish it were different. I wish things were different. Well, we all do, but they're not. They are as they are, and I find myself saying this all the time now. It is what it is. And if you accept what it is, you can change what it is. If you're in denial of it, you're not going to change it because you're kidding yourself it doesn't exist. This control system is coming in. It's coming in fast at the moment. And we have to get it from talking about it to doing something about it. And it's crept up on us step by step. While we're watching the game shows and celebrity world and sport and stuff. Nothing wrong with any of those things. But if you're there and you've not got the peripheral vision, they will keep you from seeing what's going on. And now the future is here. It's not sometime never. The future is here. And we've got to go from that to that pretty damn quick. And we can and we will. In many, many ways. As Martin Luther King said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. And we are at a time of challenge and controversy, and we'll see what we're bloody made of, frankly. But the great news is, and I'm going to get into this big time in the last section, this is a time of fantastic awakening. Like I say, when I started on this journey consciously, anyway, 20 years ago, the number of people that were in any way interested in this information, whether it's the nature of reality or the control system and its agenda, was tiny, tiny, tiny. It was a lonely road. Not anymore. A phenomenal awakenings happening all over the world as people start to expand their minds and open their minds to another possibility, to another world, to another sense of self. And what comes with that awakening, indeed what triggers it in so many ways, is when we decide to ask the big questions. Because only then can we get the big answers. Like, who are we? Where are we? What is reality? And that's what I'm going to focus on in this first section. Because unless we at least understand the themes of what reality is, we cannot possibly understand what's happening in the world and how the control system really works and how deep the rabbit hole goes.